Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Happy Friday, everyone. Friday, July the 16th, 2021. Happy start to the weekend, folks. It is another episode of Mugs and Chugs Lounge, exclusively on the Lounge Room Network, powered by our friends over at One Call Technology and sponsored in part by also our friends over at Fanatics. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with my two co-hosts. You can find them on Twitter, Jared at Mr. Smith 8201, and Lucas, the man Barry himself, aka Mr. Met over there. one of our two resident Mets fans on the network. You can find him on Twitter at L underscore at lberry_40. Low key, I was waiting for the scroller to come back through because I always forget. I always forget where the underscore goes. But hey, at least I am honest, and that is what counts. So tonight, a very different episode of Mugs and Chugs Lounge. Instead of doing beers that we actually will drink and that we will actually enjoy, I'm not quite sure what just happened, but instead of doing beers that we actually enjoy, we are going to do beers or styles of beer, flavors of beer that we absolutely despise. And we're going to do this. This was an idea. I don't remember which one of you two had it. I think it was
Jared.
Jared. Jared was the one who came up with this horrid idea of trying beers that we would probably never drink, even if our life depended on it. And here we are now with three different beers. One of us,
and our lives depend on it.
Yes, one for each of us that we will not drink on a regular basis. So, with that being said, I am not going to go first because I really want to go. I want to wait as long as I can for this one.
Oh no, I want Luke to go first because I know he absolutely dislikes the style of beer that he has.
Yeah, so I don't like the sour beers. We talked about this last week. And so what does Jared do? He goes out and he drinks a Goza on here. And I think you really enjoyed it, right? You gave it a pretty good score. Right, Jared? What'd you give your beer last week?
I think I gave it an 8.
It was decent, right? It was mid-7s or 8. Okay.
I think I gave it an 8. I think I gave it an 8 and above. I really, like I said, I will tell you something right now. So this show, we talked about doing beers that we dislike. I'm a craft beer guy. I do it for a living. There's not really a style that I can say I hate, but I know there's so many people out there that were like, you know what? I will not drink this style of beer. I thought it would be very interesting to kind of dive into beers that we don't like, because last week we all gave really high scores, right? I think we had 2 beers in the 9s. I gave a beer an 8.2 or an 8.4. So we had high scores, and I think Luke is the one that was like, man, we, people watch this show or this podcast and they're like, all these beers we drink we really like. And I said, how funny would it be, once we stop streaming? I said, how funny would it be is if we drank beers that we don't like? And I think that's the really cool part of what we do, or what we can do, is to drink something where you're like, man, I'm going to drink something that's totally out of my comfort zone and tell you what I feel about it. Because there are beers and there's styles out there that people are like, I won't drink an IPA. I won't drink a sour, right? Like, I dislike these beers. So for us to get out of our box and out of our comfort zone, I think it makes an interesting show.
Yeah, definitely. So, Juan, were you going to say something? Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna make a yes. No, I was just gonna make one of my normal like barfing sounds or something, because I'm not looking forward. Anyway, go. It's all you, Luke. Go.
All right. So I hate sour beers. So what I had done was I let my girlfriend choose a beer that she would drink for the rest of the pack, so I don't waste it. So I got a 4-pack of these, and it is a Goza beer. It is Goza with raspberry, 4.8% from Poppy's Moonship, and that is a brewery in Littleton, New Hampshire, and the beer company is Schilling Beer Co. And again, that is Poppy's Moonship. It is a Goza beer. If you need more information on what the Goza is, you can check out our episode last week where Jared gives his in-depth breakdown of that style of beer specifically. But in a nutshell, it's basically a sour beer mixed with salt, right, Jared? In a nutshell, it's a salty sour
That's
beer
correct. So,
with some fruity flavors.
So a goza, obviously, is a German term. So that is a German style ale that naturally has sea salt brewed in the process. A majority of the gozas you'll find in the market are fruited, right? So this is raspberry. So you're going to get a little bit of tart, a slight bit of sweet, right, from the fruit. And then the acidity will take over, but it will most likely be sour with some sea salt in there. You can see, actually, if you look at the color on there, the raspberry
nice and
is
pink.
a little bit of a little bit of a reddish color. Actually, that one's actually kind of clear for the Goza style. Traditionally, if you go overseas, you won't see fruit in those beers. It will be the ale with the salt, and that's it. They're light and refreshing. They're meant for summertime. In America, we're like, you know what? We're going to toss fruit in it. And generally, if you find a Goza in America, it's going to be fruited, which you can see Luke there has a raspberry version. So I'm excited to watch you drink this beer. And
so
love it.
The smell immediately, you can smell it. Just I don't know. The sour beers have a specific smell. I don't like it. It's really strong on your nose immediately. Again, I don't like it. Let's see how it tastes. It tastes like the ocean. It tastes like the freaking ocean, man. Wow.
The raspberry ocean.
Did you ever get stuck in like? Did you ever get stuck in like a huge wave when you're at the beach and like you go under the water and like the water goes in your mouth and like in your nose and stuff? That's what this reminds me of. It's super salty, and at the very end, it just gives you this, in my opinion, terribly bitter flavor of raspberry. It almost tastes like cranberry because it's so sour at the end. So it's just like a whole rush of salt. And then at the end, it finishes off with this really tart raspberry. It's not for me. Some people might like these. But if I'm scoring this beer, I am giving it a 2.7.
Drink some more to make sure. Drink more to make sure people know that your score is real. I think we need to see your facial reaction again. I wish the screen would have froze right when you took the first drink. Here we go. Oh, it's so refreshing and salty. It's
really salty. It's really salty.
I might throw up. That's really gross. I mean, a salty beer like that. Come on. I mean that. Ugh.
God. You know what's funny is a lot of people, back in the day when people were getting beers in bottles, the salt piece of it, they used to put salt on their napkins, right, to keep the beer from sticking to the napkin. The salt on the rim, I can't tell you I know how it came about, but I know that like salt and beer, especially lagers, pilsners, like people would put a little bit of salt, especially old guys. You'll watch them and you'll see the old guys come in, the guys that are, 60, 70 years old, and sometimes they'll put a little shaker of salt in their beer, right? And I don't know how that came about. I'm actually gonna have to research that. But like I said, the Germans are the ones that decided, hey, we're going to actually brew salt in our beer. And again, you go over across seas, there's no fruit in the beer. It's just an ale that has salt in it, and people find it light and refreshing. I'll tell you, I love gozas, especially lime and cucumber is a really good combination that you'll find. But a majority of those gozas are actually really good and refreshing.
It sounds refreshing, but I think what kills me with this one is that it's like the saltiness hits you, and then it's chased by complete like tartness. Like it's not like a refreshing mint cucumber, it's just completely tart. So it's like, oh, I just got a mouthful of salt. Let me eat this really sour berry.
Yeah.
It's not for me. It is not.
I love the fact that you don't like sours at all. And it's like add the salt in there, and it's just a double whammy. You could have picked a better. Props to your girlfriend for just hammering it down on you.
I hope she enjoys the rest of the pack. I sure ain't drinking them.
So I don't real talk. I mean, we don't have to get too in depth in this, but real talk. She actually enjoys that taste of the extreme saltiness and like that.
So she never
Like,
had the goza before. She likes the sours a lot, though, like the really tart aftertaste.
okay.
I think
Jeez.
she will like this, though. It's just not from if it doesn't really taste a beer to me. Like it doesn't have a beer flavor. It just tastes like almost like a really tart juice. And I don't
Can
like
you
that.
can you repeat the rating one more time for our viewers who are just tuning in?
2.7.
Show them the can again, Luke. Where'd you get it? Where is it? Where are they from? Where's that brewery from?
It's Littleton, New Hampshire. So up in New England, you could find this, but I'm sure you could find gozas anywhere near you. And just look for whatever fruit you want in there and go after it.
That is so gross. Oh my god, I can't even begin to just like the saltiness when you described it as like taking a swig of ocean water. That's when I was done. I was like,
all right.
No,
So Juan, I have a question for you.
Yes.
For you. So, with your heritage and your background, is tahini not something that you enjoy, like with on watermelon or mango or fruit?
That's a really interesting question, and yes, but here I think I know where you're going with that.
Okay.
The contrast of the sweetness of the fruit with the tahini, the pepper, the powder or whatever,
right?
It mixes just well enough that you don't. It's not as potent per se, right? Yeah. So, I have no issue with tahini on fruit. I really don't. I put it on like watermelon, on cucumbers, on like mangoes. I mean, it goes. It's very versatile, but I think that's where you were going with that, though, right? About kind of like the sour, like the bitterness.
I think in the beer version, I think that is the beer version of having your fruit with the tahini on there. Where now the tahini's got a little bit of pepper, but
can the sweetness? I mean, but you don't have that sweetness contrast.
You don't. Well, except
and that's I think
you're getting the tart and sour right along with the salty.
Exactly, and that is too much. That is way too much in itself. At least for me, it is, right? But
all right, well, everybody watching, we're gonna make Juan drink a goza very soon.
I'm gonna do mine next, just because I just cracked it open here, and it's still I really want to try this because now I want to try it because it's open and it's beer and it smells like beer. It's probably gonna taste horrendous. So once I actually put it up, put the beer in my mouth, but. This is a Mobcraft beer brewed here in it's here in Milwaukee, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, made here in Milwaukee, Mobcraft. Now it is an India ale, pale ale, right? It is an IPA, and now I have no issue with IPAs. I just want to make the record clear. I have no issue with IPAs. I love IPAs. I love the hoppiness. I really do. The reason I got this is because this is a rhubarb flavored IPA. For those who know me personally, who have known me growing up, let it just be clear to that I absolutely 100% despise anything made with rhubarb. So when I saw this at the store, number one, I was disgusted. Number two, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to do this. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to do this. So this is what the can looks like. Again, rhubarb IPA by Mobcraft Brewing here in Milwaukee. ABV on this, I believe this is going to sit at this is 6.5% here. So, God, I might vomit, guys. Rhubarb is just not. I see nothing. Okay, the leaves are poisonous. Number one, like you can't eat the leaves. You will literally die if you eat the leaves. Like they are actually poisonous. Two, you bite into the stalk, the red stalk, which is what you actually eat, and it's bitter as all hell. You need at least 20 pounds of sugar to even make it consumable. I mean, I don't know how people eat this stuff. I really don't. Like it's gross. It's like you're biting into like a sugary celery stick. I feel like when you're eating it, it's just nasty. Like it's mushy. You can only eat it when it's super, super, super cooked. Again. So this is the beer. This is what it looks like. It has a nice color. Don't mind the terrapin glass, but it does have a nice color. It's a beautiful color. Oh God. All right. here we go. Cheers.
Here we
And
go. Here we go.
oh
I'm
God,
excited.
even the smell. Oh God.
Is it tart? Is it tart like rhubarb? So it's bitter and tart.
Oh God. I just need a few minutes, guys. This is really
You
gross.
need to take a bigger sip.
I think so. He's taking baby sips over there. At least Luke just went full on in.
Fine. Oh my God. Ugh.
Juan, is
You have
this
to
is
chug
this the is this the
You have
new
to chug it.
is this the new Malort? This is the new Malort. Like,
no,
if
Malort.
something
Here-
bad
here's-
happens to your teams, you're gonna have to drink the rhubarb IPA.
oh my God, this is so gross.
Is it
This
tart?
here. What?
Is it tart? Like
It's
you know,
it's
rhubarb
very
is tart?
the hoppiness of the IPA plus the tartness of the rhubarb leaves this horrible, horrible, horrible aftertaste in your mouth. It's like you're sucking on, I don't know, like I don't know, a piece of rusted metal or something. I don't know. Just the most randomest thing. It's gross. Oh God.
You have to chug it. You know that, right?
No, I'm not chugging. If I chug that, I will actually vomit on live stream right now. And
That's how we get our viewership up.
that's not gonna happen. That is not gonna happen. I will there's just nothing good about this. There really is nothing good about this. And 1.2.
Wow.
The only reason
one.
the only reason I'm giving it over a 1 is because it's still a beer and I will still respect the beer. But that's as high as I'm going to go on this, guys. This is probably the worst thing I've ever had. Malort is better than this, Luke.
Whew.
I want to make that known right now.
Is there a
Malort?
Malort beer? Did I see a
There-
Malort beer somewhere on the interwebs not too long ago?
There is not that I know of, and I really hope it stays that way.
Okay.
That would be absolutely horrendous.
I will tell
So
you
yes,
something right now. Look, I will tell you when I eventually wander back up to the Great North, and come to see Juan in person. I already told Juan I've never had Malort. I don't know what it tastes like, but I promise you when we get together, that'll be the first thing that we drink because I need to know. I need to know what Malort is. So, he's going back in for a third sip.
yeah.
Yeah, I went back in for a little more too. It's not
I
getting
saw
any
you
better.
get it.
You know, I need to see if it hits the palate different, and it doesn't.
Remember what we talked about? We gotta let it warm up a little bit, right? Let it warm up and then taste again, right?
So I'm gonna be drinking
Right.
warm, lukewarm rhubarb beer.
Lukewarm.
That's me.
I think at
Yeah.
that point,
All right.
at that point, I'd just rather drink Clorox. I think that oh Jesus Christ. Horrendous.
I'll make sure
All
I
right.
send you one. I'll make sure I send you one USPS so you get all the Clorox on it.
Nah,
All right.
shout out
All right.
to USPS. All right, go ahead, Jared.
All right, so
Yeah, take us home here.
here's the deal. And before we jumped on live, I made sure to tell you. Look, there is not a style of beer that I can tell you that I hate. I drink everything. For a long time, I would say that like Schwartz beer, which is black beer, German beer, took me a really long time to warm up to. But if you find them made really well, they're really good, but they can be very pungent. So this segment for me was, when I came up with the idea, knowing that you guys had your druthers of which you won't drink. I do it for a living, so I drink everything. But just so happens, I came across this beer of all weeks, and I saw it, and I was like, why? But B, this is perfect for this segment. So this brewery is called D9. They're out of Lake Norman or Cornelius, North Carolina. It's called Wormhole, and it is a sour ale brewed with coffee, lime, and spearmint. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Here's the kicker.
A
Guess
wormhole.
what the ABV is. Guess what the ABV is on this beer is. Just take a guess. Take a guess on what the alcohol content on this beer is.
7.5.
14%.
Dude, what?
I
not even
didn't know
beer.
until look at Lily. I pulled the can out. I got it. Just looking at how terrible it looks. and I turned the can around when Luke was doing his review. 14%. I was like, it's probably gonna be terrible, but I'm gonna be hammered by the time I'm done with this review.
Jared's gonna be blacked out.
If my screen goes black, it's because I'm dead.
Can we, as you're pouring, Jared? Can we just appreciate the comment on the screen right now? Look, he looks like the Wish version of Mr. Clean.
Dude, Mr. Clean doesn't even have a beard.
Right. That's why you're the Wish version.
You gotta sing the jingle.
Oh, we are not doing that.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
I want to know what Dave is drinking right now because he's on fire. All right, so I'm going to pour this bad boy. I don't even know. Wow, look how clear it is. It's actually clear. Hold on.
Are you spilling? I thought you were spilling. I was like, this.
Dude, that thing looks yellow.
I was going to say, it looks very yellow.
No, it looks like a Pilsner. Look how see-through that is.
I bet you this is going to be good. I have a feeling you're going to be impressed by this.
No. Oh, my. Coffee, lime, and spearmint, 14%. If this is good.
And if you didn't read any of those,
hold on.
You don't know. Beer fest style.
Okay, so it smells like a sour. So kind of like Luke was talking about, sours have that.
It's a distinct smell.
The souring agent, so lactobacillus or Brettanomyces or whatever is used to sour the beer is usually what you get in the smell. But I can tell you right now, I smell the spearmint. You can't not smell the spearmint, right? So, I smell the coffee and the spearmint. I don't smell any lime. I smell coffee and spearmint. And oh man, here we go. 14%. Coffee, lime, spearmint, sour.
Wormhole. He likes it.
Wow. Oh my God.
It's like the second coming of Christ for Jared right now.
I don't even know.
He actually enjoys it. I knew this was going to happen.
No. Oh shit.
I'll one up you there, Juan.
Here's the crazy thing. It is so high in alcohol. It's sweet, right? Like it is really sweet. So imagine if you took a shot of espresso and then chewed a piece of spearmint gum immediately after.
That is actually really gross. That is really gross.
It's not. It's so sweet. It's like a It's
like sweet from the like a sweet spearmint, or like
spearmint. Like, you know when you chew a piece of spearmint gum, because spearmint's really powerful, and spearmint gum is sweet.
And that's what it's like. But after drinking like coffee, though, right?
Yeah. So it's like if you took a shot of espresso and you still have the espresso in your mouth, and then you popped a stick of spearmint gum. I don't get any lime. I don't get any acidity.
Is it like? Is it like cooling spearmint?
It's like thick. Like it's not thick, but when you drink it, it just coats your whole mouth in like weird. It's so sweet. It's high. It's super. I mean, it's 14%.
I don't think that might be the highest alcohol per volume. You know, that might be the highest percentage we've had on the show up to this point, right?
Is.
You know, I don't think we've had any. Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's like I'm getting drunk on a pack of spearmint gum. It's. I'm smelling my breath. I mean, it's. Nikes. I don't know if we're in this. Wow, it's so.
Jared has no idea where he's at right now.
I don't. I'm going down the wormhole right now because I don't know what to think. Like, I will tell you, it's not as gross as I thought it was going to be because I enjoy, like, if I'm going to chew a piece of gum, I like spearmint gum, right? But coffee. There's no lime. The lime is not even present. There's no citrus that cuts through. There's no acidity that cuts through the sour. It's not even sour. It's just really sweet. The spearmint overwhelms, but it's got this really weird coffee pungent back end to it. So like as I swallow more, I get more of the coffee, right? And now it's sitting in the glass, I smell more coffee than I do spearmint. When I first poured it, the spearmint came out of it. Now when I smell it, I smell the coffee, but I taste the weird sweet spearmint.
Is the coffee? Do you think the coffee maybe went? This is a really really stupid theory, and I totally get it. But maybe the coffee was at the bottom, or more of the coffee flavor went to the bottom.
The thing is look how clear it is. Like there's no settling. There was nothing. So usually, sometimes when you pour beer, you'll see something settle, right?
Right.
And you'll have to mix. There's no. This is look how clear the beer. It looks like almost like you're drinking like a lager, right? And you can see right through the glass. It's got a little bit of haziness to it, but I think it's more of the lighting in the room. But geez, oh man, I'm gonna drink the beer while we're sitting here because 14% party in a glass. But
All right.
What is the the rating?
The moment we've all been waiting for. What are you gonna rate
this
it?
is diabetes in a glass, is what it is.
Oh Jesus Christ!
It's so sweet. Man. I'll give it a 2.5 because I would never drink it again. I'll give it a 2.5. The only reason I'm giving it a 2.5 is because it's worth the drinking it just so you can get drunk off 14%. Like one of these and it's game over. Like adios amigo. 2.5. I would never drink this beer ever again. I'm like, hey, I'm glad that I experienced a coffee, lime, spearmint sour. It's called Defying Gravity, by the way. I didn't say the name of the beer. Defying Gravity. It's defying something. It's so sweet. It's it's like spearmint cough syrup. I'm about to be robo tripping.
Well, at least we got through the beer, the gross beer. I'm gonna say something real quick, just as a side note. My little my rhubarb friend here has gotten a little bit.
You're halfway through it.
Has gotten a little bit better tasting now that I've let it sit out at room temperature for a little bit. It seems like the flavor has mellowed out a little bit.
Has the IPA taken over more?
The IPA has taken over more. Now I do have I have a closed can right here. This one I'm gonna wait till it gets a little warmer, and then I will open it to see if the taste is a little bit different rather than this one that's already been sitting out in a glass. So leave this one over here. But
so you bought multiple of a beer that you thought you were gonna hate?
It was a 6-pack, and I had no other way of getting it. So now I have 6 of these rhubarb gross IPAs that I have to drink because it's like against my religion to dump any beer at any time unless if it's super duper expired or if it's Natty Light. Natty Light is horrendous. Natty Light is disgusting.
Juan, would you re-rate your beer now that you let it sit?
I'd still give it a 4. I think I'd go up to like a 4. Only because in the back of my mind it's still a rhubarb flavor. It's still rhubarb and it's gross. Dave Sager in the comments is saying that IPAs are dirty carpet water. Okay. I am gonna throw hands with Dave because that is false. IPAs are actually really good, and anyone who says otherwise is simply capping on
Dave,
on everything.
I saw all your comments. What are you drinking every day, Dave? What are you and your offensive lineman up in Green Bay chugging all the time, there, pal?
Milwaukee sewage water.
You love the beef?
Hams.
Hams.
I think it's hams.
Where's Dan Doinks when you need him?
This is a
Juan,
think this is a good trend. Yes. Go ahead.
I'm with you though. I think the longer mine sat, it get a little bit better, less salty.
See, I told you, beer changes very rapidly as it ice cold to warm. Flavors change on every beer, and I'll
I still don't.
The one that I'm drinking, it's not going to change. It's so syrupy. Like putting spearmint. Spearmint's not something that you put in naturally. It had to be an extract or a syrup of some kind. It's so sweet, and I'm telling you, the higher the ABV, right, the higher alcohol, the more sugar, right? So the more residual.
You need something to
sugar-
cover it up.
Right. The at 14%, there is a lot of residual sugar. Usually your stouts, your imperial stouts, and very rarely do you see. I'll be honest with you. I can't tell you a sour I've ever seen ever that has been double digits. You're seeing seltzers now that are Untitled Art out of Wanakee. They're putting seltzers out at 9 and 10%, which is crazy.
Wait, Wanakee, Wisconsin.
Wanakee, Wisconsin.
Okay,
Untitled Art. Have you never had Untitled Art?
I don't think so.
Search
Actually,
their-
Wanakee for reference for those who are watching. Wanakee is about 30 minutes north
even.
of
From Milwaukee.
from Madison. Probably like 20 minutes north of Madison,
Yeah.
if that, from
On
the
the
capital.
eastern side of Wisconsin.
Yes.
Yeah. If you've never, okay, for all of our viewers that are up in the Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan area, Wanakee, Untitled Art, search them out. They make crazy, delicious, weird beer. Everything that they put out, though, is lip smacking good. They're changing seltzer. Like people think about Trulies and White Claws and stuff with seltzers. They're putting out beer seltzers that are 8, 9, 10% that are. They put out a strawberry shortcake just recently that I tried.
Mhm.
It is one of the most you never. If I would have closed my eyes and you gave it to me blindfolded and let me drink it, never would I have told you it was a seltzer. I thought it was a Berliner Weiss, and it's 9%, and it was delicious. I mean, tasted like cake and strawberry and icing. I mean, it was so good, and it's a seltzer. But this thing, you never see sours. Sours are always low ABV, 4, 5, maybe 6%. 14 on how? Like, how did they do that? But I can tell you, it's so sweet, it's almost unbearable. But if I finish this, I'll slump down. Well, I'm going to. I'll slump down in my chair. I'll slur my speech. I don't know how. I don't know how you get. To be honest with you, I'm gonna have to talk to our head brewer Joey at Gnarly Barley. I'm gonna Monday when I go in to work. I'm going to ask him like, how do you get a sour to 14%? And it has to be the residual sugar from the spearmint, or however they brewed it and what they put in there to leave all the sugars in there. But I have no idea how they got this beer to 14%. That's crazy because that's usually reserved for imperial stouts, big dark beers. How they got this to 14. But I can tell you, it's viscous. Like when you drink it, it's like pancake syrup, but spearmint flavored.
That sounds terrible.
It's not great,
no.
but I'm not pouring it out. I'm here for the people. Oh, by the way, Dave loves Leinenkugels, Spotted Cows. Hey, Coors Banquet beer, good for you. That's a great beer. But Leinenkugels, yeah, well, you spelled my name wrong, Dave. 2 R's.
Looks
Ladies
like
and
Chris
gentlemen,
just joined us.
yes.
He said, which Bears player would it be with a 2.5 rating? Are we talking on the current roster? Here we go. All right, Packer Smack Talk. On the current roster or previous roster? Thank you, Dave, for spelling
Ladies
my
and
name
gentlemen, a co-host of the Bullpen Lounge, Mr. Chris, has joined us on the Mugs and Chugs beer review segment here. We're going to transition over to sports. Luke, I know that you have to bounce out of here pretty soon, so just a fair warning, whenever you need to do that, feel free, sir. No obligation, of course, no pressure. Chris, how are you doing, sir? Welcome to the Friday night beer review episode. How's it going, man?
Yeah, buddy. Happy to be here. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great. We just had some gross
Nasty
beer
beer.
on the show, and I'm still trying to get the taste out of my mouth. It's still very potent. I'm getting the aftertaste now of the rhubarb. So I wasn't really getting it when I was drinking it. Now I'm getting it now that I'm sitting here, letting it rest in the palate a little bit now that I'm getting it. But
I mean, I love rhubarb. I grew up in the Midwest, so rhubarb is a staple. But in a beer, I just don't know.
it's not the best combination. I was telling the guys earlier when we first started, I absolutely despise rhubarb. I hate it. I think that there's no point to it. You need like 30 pounds of sugar just to make it bearable to eat. And
lots of sugar.
Yes, the leaves themselves are poisonous, and rhubarb beer, IPA, hops.
I'm not a fan of rhubarb either, Juan. So
yeah,
it's
yes, hops plus lots of rhubarby flavor. Not a fan. Absolutely not a fan. But we are going to transition over to some sports commentary, if that's okay with you guys. Now that we are done
perfectly
with
fine.
here,
Let's do it.
Yeah, especially now that you're drunk, Jared. It's all good, right?
I'm halfway.
He's drinking a 14% beer, which is not very favorable for our good man Jared up there. But we will make it work. So, big story of the week, gentlemen. Now that we are focusing on sports, we're going to say we'll call it almost 40 minutes into the episode now. A lot of allegations and accusations of abuse that we've been seeing with a lot of professional sports players, or not abuse, but rather domestic violence. So just this week, Richard Sherman, right, and what he went through, what he's been dealing with breaking into his in-laws or trying to break into his in-laws' house. I think just today there was a baseball player, if I'm not mistaken, that is also now he's on administrative leave. If I'm somewhere I saw that as well. Chris, you're a baseball guy, so I don't know if maybe you know a little bit more about that, or if you've heard about that. But
I mean, we got Ozuna, who's been it's been going on for a minute, and I don't think he's back, but he was absent for a while for his own domestic issues. And
Starlin Castro, I think, is.
Oh goodness.
Oh, Castro, he's the one who's now being accused of domestic violence. Is that correct?
Former Cub, now Washington National, which he had issues when he was with the Cubs. There's a lot of things that happened with him, but that's who you're referring to, and I do believe his case involved a child. So not great.
Ooh, yeah, that is not a good look at all. Richard Sherman earlier this afternoon, just going back to his situation, what was happening, he actually he issued an apology on Twitter, on social media, and basically I was seeing, unfortunately, a lot of people were calling it very I forget the name of the announcer who was like, I pride myself as a man of faith and all this and that, as there's a deep drive by, Nick Castellanos and all that, just again, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying what I was seeing on Twitter. But there is such it seems like this is happening a lot more often now, where professional athletes are getting themselves into these kinds of issues, right, with their families, with domestic abuse, with allegations, with just domestic with violence. Like, what's happening? I know obviously we're not specialists in the field of mental health, but it's like, man, do you guys not feel like we're seeing this more often? Like it's happening more and more, or is it just because the media is picking up and they're actually reporting on it? Like, I guess I'm torn on that.
Well, I'll jump in and say, we're in that weird time, right before football starts. The All-Star break happened, so it's kind of a down spot. There's not a basketball game right now. With Richard's, in regards to Richard Sherman, I liked his post today. In his apology, because a couple of years ago when he was with Aaron Andrews, and he went on a rant, and I think a lot of people came out and said Richard Sherman was a thug, where he was like, don't ever test me. And I think a lot of people looked at him like, or said you shouldn't do that live on national television. And and downplayed, his personality without knowing who he was. Where he's a great athlete, he's a very smart person. I think a lot of people know that now, how intelligent he is. His wife came out on social media and said, "Look, nobody got hurt. He's not that kind of guy. He's a family guy." He defended his character and said, "Look, nothing happened. Nobody got hurt. This is being blown out of context." And if you look at what the reports are saying, he was somebody. I think there was one report that said he drank a whole bottle of vodka and a bottle of Hennessy, or he was extremely intoxicated. He was threatening to kill himself. So I think he was arrested, maybe to save himself type of deal, because he was threatening suicide. I think that was confirmed as a report. But the sad thing for Richard Sherman is I think that he does have a football career left. I think he can still play for a team as a free agent, as a guy who negotiated his own contract with the 49ers. It's a shame, because I think that there was a lot of interest in him. But I think somebody who was judged harshly for a persona that I don't think for somebody who he really wasn't. He is a very smart person. For him to come out to always be a great teammate, a smart guy, has never been outside of the law, and now this happens, and automatically it categorizes him as a bad guy, right? Because he was arrested. It's in the national media. But I liked his comment today, because I think that the media is going to run with it, because it is a slow time. There's not a lot going on. And of course, he's the number one talk of the guys in my circle who don't even watch a lot of sports were talking about Richard Sherman, right? And I think it's unfortunate for him, because I think he has been an upstanding citizen. And actually, he's the vice president of the NFLPA, if I'm not mistaken, or was aspiring to be a big part of the NFLPA. Mm-hmm. So it's very unfortunate, the timing, of this incident. And I think his apology was heartfelt. And I honestly think that, he did something that any of us could have done on a Friday night and had too much to drink and did something that was out of character, but just because he is who he is, it's put in the national spotlight. So it's unfortunate for him.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. It's, and earlier tonight when I came on live, on my own and was talking about this, we don't know what Richard Sherman is going through right now, right? We don't know if there are, there's mental health stuff happening that maybe we're not aware of. Toilet Bowl Food Review says hello everyone on YouTube. Hello, thank you for tuning in. We really do, we appreciate the audienceship, of course. But we don't know. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. Whatever is happening, however, I truly hope rather, that he gets the help that he needs for to cope with that, because it's a very devastating situation, right? A lot of people on social media were sharing the 911 call that was put out. I don't know. I did not listen to that call. I have no intentions of listening to it, because I heard it's very distressing. But if I'm seeing all of these people come out saying, that it's a horrible call, like it's just the stuff that was being said, I can only imagine what the whole scenario even looked like when Richard Sherman was up there knocking at the door, trying to take the door down, in the middle of the night. That's scary, regardless of who it is. That's a frightening thing, to have someone trying to break into your house in the middle of the night. I mean, it's just a very, very unfortunate situation. And, not to downplay the gravity of this situation, right? But in the world of baseball, as you were just referencing, right, there's a whole bunch of other issues happening too with athletes in that league, in the MLB. A lot of domestic issues, and I believe the Trevor Bauer, right? It's Trevor Bauer who's in hot water right now too, with a lot of those accusations of his the nature of the sexual practices that were being done, between him and this other woman, right? That we now know was texting him and was engaging with him even after a lot of this violence, right? Sexual violence happened to her. So I don't know where these things stem from. I don't know the thought processes of these individuals and what goes through their mind, but I just truly hope that, if it is something that is affecting them to the point that their careers are in jeopardy like this, right, that they get the help that they need, because obviously there's something there that is not being addressed. The Toilet Bowl Food Review says his career is coming to an end. I'm assuming he is talking about Richard Sherman. He's struggling with identity. He doesn't know who he is other than a football player, and that is a struggle at his age. That is a really good point, actually, because if you think about it, where do a lot of these athletes, when you start to get to that age, and Richard, let me just say this. Richard Sherman is an accomplished man in the NFL. Can we agree with that? Is that something we can agree with?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Right. He's an accomplished man in the NFL. Okay. He's all the stuff that he's done. Is he getting to that age now where he's starting to contemplate what's going to happen after he leaves the NFL, after he leaves the playing field? What is he going to do? Is he going to be as accomplished off the field after his NFL career as he has been in the past? I
want to hear Chris's point, on this piece of it, but I want to reference, just based on what you're saying.
Can I just say something? I don't want to hear Chris's point.
Nobody wants to hear Chris's point.
Exactly. No one wants to hear Chris's point. So no, I'm just kidding. Chris, we love you, man. We love you.
Hey, it's all good.
Before Chris jumps in, but I want to reference what I was saying before. Is you're talking about a guy's career coming to an end, and I think what I was saying before is that if he's not already an officer, I think he's the vice president of the Players Association, and or was trying to move up in the NFLPA. I'm pretty sure he's an officer in the NFLPA. So I think he was already trying to position himself for after football by being higher up in the Players Association, right? So this is really out of character for him, and I don't think it's crazy to say, right? But I think the fact that his wife was so quick to defend him and say nobody got hurt, this is out of character. I really think this was a phone call where he was threatening to kill himself and he was extremely intoxicated. And so a phone call was made to the authorities to save him from himself, so to speak, right? So, again, as damaging as it is and the time of year that it is and the type of situation that it is, it doesn't look great. But I think that there's probably more to the story that will come out. But I think it was him being arrested was more to detain him, to save him from himself, essentially, right? In a situation where there's other things going on that we don't know about, we may never know about, but I think it wasn't him harming anybody else as much as it was trying to save him from himself.
I agree 100%, Jared. So he is a vice president. Looks like there are multiple vice presidents within the NFLPA. But going back to earlier in Richard's, life and career, he was an outstanding student in high school, 4.2 GPA. Went to Stanford, which is, not your football powerhouse, but they have come a long way in, the last couple decades. But Stanford is a top-notch school. That is an intelligent school where intelligent, men and women attend, and, Richard's one of those people. So it's unfortunate. It's obviously out of character. He is a, charity starter. He opened his own charity. So it's tough to see this kind of thing, going back to the 911 call. I don't want to touch too deep on it, but honestly, if you've listened to it, the dispatcher was tough to listen to. She was not as gracious as I would have liked to seen out of an.
Was it her first day on the job?
It honestly seemed like it. And I have some people I follow on Twitter that kind of came to her defense saying she, it's a tough job. And I 100% agree. But if you're going to have that job, you should have the head to handle this kind of situation and not be berating the caller who is probably scared out of her mind, frightened that, anything could happen. She multiple times was commenting on what, Richard was doing, what he was saying, what he was alluding to if the police showed up and what he would do if they tried to stop him. And that's scary, scary stuff. And she did not handle herself very well, in my opinion.
I agree.
That being said, his wife and her family had to be scared. And unfortunately, I going back to his apology, it did seem heartfelt. And, there's been some other folks in the news recently that have made some ignorant comments that their apology didn't come off so well, in my opinion. Making comments about, certain communities and things like that, and then trying to make apologies and basically being told, oh, yeah, my friends in that community told me how hard it impacted them. Dude, if you have to be told how hard it impacted a community, you're still missing the point. You're still missing it.
Won't lose his job, though.
Nope. No, will not lose his job. But if his co-host said that, they would be fired in the afternoon.
Game over. Juan, you know what? Good props to Juan, because Juan nailed that immediately after it happened, and he made a point to address that, which is why we love Juan, because he's very fair and balanced, but he also sees the errors when they happen. But
Chris,
again, and I look, that's a whole nother topic, and we could have a whole nother show on. And I made a comment about that when I saw the apology, because I was like, bookmark that, because everybody makes mistakes, right? But that guy.
Can we reference by name who we're talking about, just in case for the audience who is listening who maybe does not know who we're talking about?
Stephen A. Smith. That's who we're talking about.
There you go.
Mr. Stephen A. Smith, who is he's a paid jackass, but there's a limit to that jackassery, in my opinion. I mean, you can only have so many hot takes before you.
The sad thing is, you
cross the line.
I don't want to go off on the tangent of Stephen A. Smith when we're trying to address current topics, because this was.
No, please go off. Please go off on a tangent.
The thing is, though, is he not only did he disparage. So we all know what he said about Shohei Ohtani, right? But the thing is before that, when he literally talked about the Nigerian basketball team and was like, or however you say their name, like he literally, with the Bears flag in the background on Chris's the monitor there, because if you didn't see Adewale Agunleye's tweet. Directly following Stephen A. Smith's disparaging of the Nigerian basketball names that he could not pronounce, because he's never prepared on anything he ever does. And when they try and jam him into other sports that he doesn't care about, they're just throwing money at him and just trying to put a face out there that people recognize, and he's never prepared. And it's very evident that if it's not basketball, which, this is basketball, right? But he comes in and he's just sitting there blowing hot air and talking about something he knows nothing about, and he can't even take the time to learn the basketball players from another country that just beat the United States in an exhibition game full of our all-stars, right? And he cannot take the time to learn their names or try to pronounce them properly, and even doesn't apologize, just says, or however you say it, and just leaves it at that, right? Is terrible.
If that, I don't like to do the whole, if this person would have said this, or if this person would have said that, like this would have happened or that would have happened. But
it was back-to-back days. He did that with Nigeria, right? And then the next day he comes out and has the rant on Shohei Ohtani, talking about how Shohei Ohtani doesn't speak English. But the problem is that Stephen A. Smith speaks English, but if he's talking about a job where you're supposed to be able to enunciate how you speak, right? His job is to be able to pronounce people's names properly as athletes and or people of note. and he cannot speak the proper names of the Nigerian basketball players, right? So he's effectively canceling out his own argument because he can't do his job properly in speaking and pronunciating the names of the athletes that he's supposed to be representing on a national stage.
I mean, his job is also to not be a clown on national television, but that hasn't worked out for him either.
It kind of is. I mean, ESPN
you know,
kind of pays him to be a clown.
Yeah,
That-
I mean,
you know what,
honestly, the only bigger clown that I know, is Chris, and that's very impressive, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a hard
Chris, what
it's
did
a hard
you do to
thing,
Juan? What happened?
and
Like,
you know, it's very
I own him in the chat, and he gets so mad.
are we?
let's talk. No. Let's talk.
Like,
Hang on. Let's talk about the chat for a few minutes. Let's talk about that chat, Chris. Let's have a one-on-one. Remember that time I told you that when I had you on a Zoom call that I was going to own you to the death.
This is you're going to roast me.
Yes,
this is quote.
Yes,
Let's go.
Yes. I mean, hey, you would know. You pulled up the screenshot.
I bring receipts, bro. I bring receipts.
Let it just be known that Mr. Matt is getting completely deflated right now as we speak.
So this happened yesterday while I didn't see the 5,000 messages, right? While I was working, I missed that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So
Mr. Matt is being deflated as we speak because the Pittsburgh Pirates are currently up 2-1, top of the sixth, no outs. I'm sure Chris is punching air underneath that table he's sitting at.
No, we're watching it live, but we just about had a fight right now. Marcus Stroman got an out. The Pirates had a little bitch fit about it, and they started talking shit to Stroman.
Look at Chris. Look at Chris right now. He's pissed.
Clearing brawl.
Get pissed. Get pissed.
We ready. We coming. No,
I want to make it. I want to make it very clear right now. Much love, Chris. You know that.
100%.
We're not doing much
Chris,
better right now.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, you know what? You know what, Jared? Let's just thank God that we have good health and completely disregard the White Sox getting owned by the Trastros and.
I live in Louisiana, and everybody down here is an Astros fan. All of a sudden, and this is not good for me. Like I can't like. We got swept. We're losing right now in the top of the sixth. Like, we've got to get a win before I cannot show my face in public forever.
I will not tell you who I placed my wager on this evening then.
Yeah, well, I can only imagine.
Back to Mr. Smith. I'll go you one better on the whole
no, don't use my Twitter handle. Just
language thing. Stephen A. Smith said I think the day after, before he had his big apology, said something about how he was misunderstood or misinterpreted or something like that. It's like, dude, isn't it your job to communicate to your crowd and not be misinterpreted? Do you need an interpreter, sir, to tell us what you're trying to say? You're telling us Shohei Ohtani needs an interpreter and you are misinterpreted. Good for you, bro.
The thing is, and again, when I go back, and the reason why we touched on this is because I was really proud of Juan for, coming out and making it a really big topic of discussion, based on being, somebody. I'm a white guy, right? So does my opinion matter on everything, right? So because look. So I can come out and say my opinion, but seriously, because I'm a white guy, it doesn't always necessarily matter, right? But the thing that Stephen A. builds his platform on is speaking up for the minorities. And so it was super shocking, when I keep bringing back the Nigerian basketball team, where as Stephen A. saying he's a champion for the minority to disparage and just kind of cast aside them and not being able to pronounce their names, where you should be uplifting them and say, wow, Nigeria, right? Nigeria, a nation that has been ripped apart by its own people, genocide and just terrible atrocities, right? To have a basketball team in an exhibition game, great, but instead of admonishing the United States team for just playing a terrible game that maybe nobody cared about, we should, Stephen A. of all people should be saying, wow, look at Nigeria putting together a competitive basketball team that, regardless of the fact it was an exhibition game, beat the United States. That's a huge deal. That's a national story, right? That is something that should be celebrated. That should be talked about, because you're talking about a third world country that put together a competitive basketball team and beat the power. That is something worth talking about. Like, we shouldn't be talking about Stephen A. Smith right now. We should be talking about Nigeria putting together a competitive basketball team in 2021. That's amazing, right? So I just feel like that everybody, the thing that makes me mad is that we're talking about Stephen A. Smith. I don't care about Stephen A. Smith. I'm more impressed that Nigeria put together a competitive basketball team that did something that nobody's talking about, because everybody cares about what Stephen A. Smith said by not pronouncing the names properly.
I absolutely love my country. I've made this point many times. Of course, I'm always going to root for Team USA when it comes to the international competition and whatnot. But I have no problem whatsoever, tipping my hat to the Nigerian team for, again, Jared, for putting together such a top-tier, top-notch team that inevitably was able to take down Team USA. I mean, that's what it comes down to, bro. I mean, as much as it saddens me that my team lost, I can't help but say, you know what? At the same time, props to Nigeria for, pardon the language, for getting their shit together. I mean, seriously, like, they did excellent. And yesterday I was watching. I didn't watch all of it, but I was watching. Argentina was going up against the U.S. I think it was yesterday afternoon, and they, Argentina, their team isn't as top notch. I think they were, the last I saw, I think they lost, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Argentina's they're a top 10 team though, nationally,
yes,
worldwide though.
right. But I was talking about just the way that they looked yesterday in the game.
Yeah,
they didn't look, top notch, right? They weren't doing everything correctly. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're able to get to the Olympics, right, or to the pre-Olympics, the pre-qualifiers, if you're on that team, that means you did something to prove yourself to get to that team, to get to that place. And all of these teams, obviously, right, all the countries that are being represented are special in their own way. There's just going to be a few that are going to be exceptional. And I would be willing to say that Nigeria definitely is exceptional when it comes to the roster, the talent, the hustle that they have on the court against what we saw against the USA. I mean, you can't deny that. So again, I get it. What Stephen A. Smith said, not once now, but twice, with Nigeria, and then with the
with a national platform.
Yes, on ESPN with our baseball, with MLB. It's very disappointing. Nothing's gonna happen to him because nothing's gonna happen to him, and that's what's even worse, is that he's not gonna have any repercussions put on him. Nothing's gonna happen, and it's gonna fly by, and no one's gonna say anything.
You know what else is disappointing on that topic? And I know they get roasted. I like some of the stuff they do, but another thing that was really disappointing to me, and again, why I keep harping on Nigeria and how important it is that we celebrate the successes that country has in a sporting competition, is KFC Barstool came out and made a tweet where they were like, do they even have food? Like, it was like FOO period, right?
Yes.
And it was terrible. It was such. But again,
does it surprise you though?
No,
like
not,
real
not,
talk. Hang on, Chris. Do you know what we're talking about, bud? Chris,
I don't, but not coming from those clowns.
So, Jared, do you want to say it again, or do you want me to just kind of run it?
So
go ahead.
KFC Barstool, after the loss, he pretty much said, couldn't believe that the United States lost. And there was a piece of his tweet where he said, "Do they even have FOO? Period. Like, never mind, right?" Saying, do they even have food in that country, right? So, going back to what I was previously saying, like a third world country where a majority of the country doesn't have running fresh water, limited access to supplies and resources, but fielded a sports team in the Olympics in a preliminary game that beat the most powerful nation in the world, right? At a sport that we clearly have dominated for forever, right? And again, I just can't stress enough the sad part about the fact that we're not talking about Nigeria fielding a great basketball team. We're talking about Stephen A. Smith, and we're talking about KFC Barstool, and these people that are just get paid to spew this nonsense when we should be celebrating this third world country that, may not have food or may not have running water, and they don't have nearly the resources that any of these other countries do. But you know what? They still put together a competitive sports team. That's amazing, and that should be the story. And that's what makes me the most upset about that as a sports fan, is that we are not celebrating that team. They're just an afterthought of a narcissistic and or anti, or I hate to throw around the word the racist thing. Everybody pulls the race card, but still, it's just, that's what it is that the race was brought into it, or we're not celebrating Nigeria,
right?
And we're not it's terrible. That's the worst thing about it, is that we're not celebrating these people that have worked their entire lives, and they're put on the back burner for somebody that we shouldn't care nearly as much about.
Right. It seems more important to us to discredit them than pump up, the Nigerian team. And the fact is, the Nigerian team has multiple NBA players on it. Maybe they're not starters, but that's an accomplishment in and of itself for these gentlemen to be, professional basketball players in another country that, is good at basketball most of the time. And the USA was a 28.5 point favorite that day, and they lost. So that's a big deal. And you're right.
That's why I love Adewale Agunleye. Is one of my favorite Bears of all time, because he's a great person. He's a great player. But his tweet was so professional, and I don't think he got enough love. When he came out and he explained the name that Stephen A. Smith butchered, he came out and he tweeted it. If you haven't seen it, you can go to Adewale's, Twitter, and he tweeted out what the player's name meant, and it was super cool, because he highlighted it and said, the names of our people are very special, and it doesn't translate in the English language, but here's what it means, So it was really cool for Adewale to be very professional, and not, attacking Stephen A. Smith, but educating him and saying, you should take the time to understand that it's not butchering the last name Smith or Johnson, right? These names have meanings, and they're very important to the culture, So, don't just push them aside because you can't say it out loud, So I thought that was really cool, and I think it should have got a little more love, and props to Adewale for being so professional and just trying to explain what it means to make sure that you pronounce people's names properly so they understand the meaning behind the athlete and the person.
It's right. I'm scrolling through his page now. It probably happened long enough ago to where it's going to take me too long to find it, but that's the right way to handle it. The professionalism, the class act that Adewale has displayed throughout his career and after. And let's just credit the Bears for having these types of people always around. Sam Acho and Charles Tillman and Adewale and all these guys that. I'm a homer. I'll be honest, but I love my squad, and I like that they're not the other franchises that allow consistent domestic abuse people to be on their teams.
Oh, dude, 1,000,000%. We have such, again, is winning happen all the time? No, but you know what? The quality people that we've had in this franchise, and obviously Charles Tillman is, me living in Louisiana. People love Charles Tillman. Going to the University of Louisiana Lafayette, it's really cool. Me being a Bears fan, living in Louisiana, and people like resonating with Charles Tillman because he's from here. But the type of people, the character of the players that have played on this team, are excellent, and very, very, very rarely is there an issue, where we're national news or you have to worry about, oh God, here we go. I think the last time that we had a really big national story is when Sam Hurd was a member of the Bears for all of like a month, before he got busted for major drugs, right? And they associated him with the Bears because he had just signed, but he was more known for being a member of the Cowboys, But that's what I love, is that you never have to hear about the Bears players being in the national news for something negative. And we do have very, very quality human beings. Still to this day, I think our team, if you look at the character of the guys that make up our locker room, I'm very proud to call myself a Bears fan, years and years and years over, because I think we have quality people.
100%.
Well, I think we're running on about an hour and 12 minutes, and I think we're gonna start wrapping it up, guys. If that's cool with you.
Yeah.
I know it's a Friday night, and I know a lot of us, some of us have to get up tomorrow now and get ready for a baseball game, because I was made aware during the show that I will be going to a beautiful game at the ballpark tomorrow in Chicago. 82 degrees, I believe, is the high. Already tweeted about it. I'm very ecstatic.
Let's just hope it's going to be a W, because, hey, can you go and tell the offense to wake up? Because right now they're not doing anything for us.
I will do my best. It is not. Ooh, I just saw a replay of that Mets fight that almost broke out, actually.
I've actually been trying to scroll Twitter because I've seen people talk about it, but I haven't seen the video.
Before we leave, though, I just want to drop some scores for you all. The Padres are up 19-8 against the Washington Nationals. The Pittsburgh is up. Pittsburgh is up 3-1 against the Mets. We've got the Boston Red Sox up 4-0 against the New York Yankees. That we like to see. Toronto beat Texas 10-2. Right now we've got Miami is up 7-0 against the Phillies. San Francisco is up 4-1 against the Cardinals. And Oakland and Cleveland is at 0-0. Astros at White Sox, guys. Houston Astros are up 3-1 against the White Sox. I believe the Cubs are playing too. Well, the Brewers are up 10-5 against the Cincinnati Reds. Dodgers and Rockies right now. The Los Angeles Dodgers are up 7-4 against Colorado. The Braves are up 6-5 against. Braves are up 6-5 against the Tampa Bay Rays. Sorry. Too much rhyming. The Mariners and the Angels are tied 1-1. The Kansas City Royals are currently up 6-1 against the Orioles. The Cubs are playing as well, I believe, aren't they? Yes, the Cubs are.
Yes.
The Cubs are currently up 1-0 against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
There we go.
I think that the Cubs are. I think the Cubs can sweep the Diamondbacks, guys. That's going to be a very easy series. I don't foresee that being a problem.
There's one thing I want to put out there sports-wise before we go, because I think that because we're all Bears fans here and the Bears fans watching, there's two things right now over the weekend that if you have not put your eyes on, you absolutely have to. There is a YouTube, the Hey Rookie series.
Just watched it today.
On YouTube, it's about an hour and 36 minutes. Is absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, if you're a Bears fan and you want to see Justin Fields and how he operates, and again, if you haven't seen QB1, go and stream it. The season where he's in high school, and you'll see who he is as a player and how he's quiet. He doesn't talk a lot. He works, and the Hey Rookie series will let you know it's continued. I'm super excited. This guy's part of our team. I'm super excited about that. And also, if you haven't watched Brett Coleman, his breakdown of the quarterbacks that was, last year with Trubisky and with Nick Foles, and then going into, how Justin Fields makes the Bears a better football team already. Take a couple hours out of your day tomorrow if you got nothing to do. Get a coffee, drink a beer, and there's 2 pieces of content right there.
Right after. One right after the other.
Just do it.
Jared's first go-to. Crack open, get a cup of coffee. We all know where Jared's mind is at.
Yeah.
He's already half in the bag, but he is ready to start the day tomorrow. Cracking a cold one real quick.
If you watch that Hey Rookie series, you'll be drinking beer 20 minutes into it, because you're gonna be like, wow, I'm so ready for we're 2 weeks away from training camp. But those are 2 great pieces of internet. It's free. They're free. Coleman, they're both on YouTube. And they're super great. And I think they're very educational, to learn a little bit about Justin Fields, but the other side is to kind of see, Coleman does a great job of breaking down the deficiencies of the previous quarterbacks that we had versus where we're going in the future, and how it's kind of on Nagy, not on Nagy. You can make your own judgment on that, but I think it's 2 awesome pieces to watch to get you hyped up about Fields, and also kind of learn about, where the Bears might be going at the quarterback position based on previous quarterbacks. So super cool.
And for our national audience, the other 3 guys on that Hey Rookie are phenomenal. Kyle Pitts, J.C. Horn, and Micah Parsons. That series was super fun. I watched it today, so fresh in my mind. I tweeted out about it early. It's so good. Micah Parsons and Justin Fields have been going at it for years, all the way back to high school.
I can't wait for the next Cowboys-Bears game. It's going to be phenomenal.
It's going to be so good. And Kyle Pitts is just a phenomenal tight end talent. You're going to see that guy blow up.
I live in Saints territory. They're terrified of Kyle Pitts. I know Julio Jones just left, but they know. I mean, we watched him in Florida. I'm an LSU guy, so we watched this kid terrorize, the SEC. He's the real deal. He's smart. But all those guys, the personalities are through the roof. Joe Horn, former Saints player. Again, I watched Joe Horn. I think JC, now he's playing for the Panthers. There's so much personality in those videos, in that series. I think they picked a great bunch of guys to follow. It's so good. It's worth your time. It's worth your hour and a half, especially if you're a football fan. It's so much fun. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Definitely. Very good. Very good content.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in for another live episode of the Friday Night Beer Review / live show. Remember, every Friday night we like to sit down and do this beer review, first 30 minutes or so. Then it's just sports talk for the rest of the night. Jared at Mr. Smith 8201, yours truly at Lounge Room Prez 1. Chris is irrelevant because he's a clown, so we won't mention him. But I do.
He's got a sweet Bears flag behind him, though. I love it.
Chris, drop us your Twitter handle, man. What's your Twitter handle?
We are at Shy Bears 1985.
Dude doesn't even know his own Twitter handle. Look at him. He was
yeah, I do.
He's like, oh, shit.
Well, I was thinking, do I need to?
Juan just slapped the NSFW tag on us in these last 3 words. Here we go.
This dude has changed his Twitter handle 10 times over and wants to talk shit about mine.
All right. This is where we cut it off because I don't like getting called out on a live broadcast. And if it doesn't fit my narrative, we're not talking about it.
Agenda out.
Agenda out the door. Have a good night, everyone. Have a great weekend. Make sure to crack them. Crack those cold ones tomorrow. I know I will be at the ballpark
Absolutely.
with my dude Buzz on Tap from On Tap Sportsnet. Shameless plug. Give them a follow. They're really cool guys. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe, and of course, as we like to end our shows on the network, and I know I can do this safely because I got 2 other ones on here. Go Bears and go White Sox.
Go White
Bears.
Sox, baby. Go Bears.
And yes, for Chris, go Mets. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.